All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Close. We are 1 minute early, and hopefully that makes up for being 3 minutes late in the morning. Folks, today was one of those days. I know I've said that many times over the past couple of weeks, the idea that today was one of those days, but today was one of those days. Openai just gave us some new updates about what's going on in their business, and obviously the AMD OpenAI deal is the biggest headline of the day, but I didn't know OpenAI was having a developer day today. And what we learned from that developer day is pretty incredible. And we're going to get into that as we get into the show. AMD right here, 205. Unfortunately, AMD was not able to break above all-time highs. It was not able to hold that 210, 215 level. I think if you're an AMD shareholder, you just can't be upset. You really just can't be upset. It's up 25% in the day. 25% is incredible. A lot of stocks had a lot of green movement today. We got a lot to talk about. Grabby grab. Broke through 630, got all the way to 645. I would be very happy with a 630 close. SoFi up 4% on the day. Obviously, AMD up 24%. S&P 500 hit 672.5. Right now, it's 671.80. Robinhood gave some back. It was up 20% last week. Understandable. Giving back 2% on the day. Palantir right here went from 180 to 178. Tesla right here, 450. I didn't even see Tesla for the past 2 hours, to be honest. So Tesla was 445 when I left in the morning. Now it's at 450. Not too bad. Meta, we scooped 5 shares at 697. I did not sell those shares yet, so 712 right here. Meta gets a little bit of a rebound. And then Bitcoin hit 126, 126.3, right now at 125, so not too bad, getting all-time highs. And Ethereum is at 4,700. And if you know that Ethereum's at 4,700, what happens? Well, Bitmine goes up 10% in a day. Absolutely incredible. The thing about Bitmine here is I don't think they diluted today. If they did dilute today, and the stock is still up 10%, then it just shows the resiliency of this stock and the amount of liquidity that's there. But I don't think they diluted today. They already bought 180,000 ETH yesterday, or not yesterday, last week. They disclosed that today. They now have 2.83 million Ethereum. And so as ETH ran, I don't think they diluted, Bitmine was allowed to run as well, up 10.7% on the day. Just been a massive, massive day for the broader market. Okay, before we get into OpenAI, you guys are telling me Applovin has a headline. Oh boy, 16%. What's going on? I think there's a headline, SEC probe. Applovin shares quickly extend decline to more than 8%. SEC probes Applovin over data collection practices. Okay, usually this tends to be a nothing burger. This stuff tends to be a nothing burger. I don't know if they didn't dilute. I'm just guessing. So I don't know if BM&R didn't dilute. Just the fact that it was up 10% today makes me think they didn't dump any shares, but they could have. We'll find out in the coming days. Okay, that's all we have. SEC probe on Applovin. I want to buy that dip, dude. I feel like that's another word. I just don't know enough about this business. But then again, 16% on an SEC probe, really? Over data collection practices? I don't know. We'll see if we can get some more details on that. Maybe that's one you wait for. If you're super bullish Applovin, then you probably nibble right here. But 17% down, that is the extent of the headline I have. SEC probe on data collection practices. Applovin is in the advertising business, so likely that is what's causing the SEC to look into this. Ultimately, I think it's a nothing burger and probably gets eaten up, but we're going to see what happens. Applovin right there down 16% on the day. Again, it's hard to find growth names like this. Now, Applovin was also up a lot because of the S&P inclusion, but it's hard to find growth names like this take a beating, and those tend to be opportunities theoretically if the beating is for no reason. So Applovin right there is down about 15% on the day. Palo Alto, that's up 2.6. MicroStrategy's up 1.2. ASTS, I mean, just an incredible day. That's up 7.6. HIMS is up 3%. And then Uber also up 3.4%, which is not too bad. Again, on Robinhood, there's 2 reasons it could be down. Number one, it could be because the outage this morning, which, by the way, was not Robinhood. It was Webull and Fidelity and IBKR, and I have charts to prove that. So we'll look at some charts in a bit. It was not just Robinhood. It's just, when Robinhood goes down, that is the loudest reaction you get from the crowds. But number 2 is guys, the stock was 120 last week. I mean, yeah, you're going to have people taking some profits after going up $30. So to me, this is not a big deal. And yes, it's going the opposite of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it also went up a lot when Bitcoin and Ethereum didn't really move last week. So one could argue that people taking profits is not that crazy. Robinhood right there, 144.74. Google. Looks like Google maybe likes the Applovin news. Applovin and Google. I don't know enough about Applovin to say they're competitors, but they're in the ad tech space. If the SEC is probing a theoretical digital ad tech competitor like Applovin, maybe that's good for Google. That's at 250, and that's green. Iren as well, massive day. I mean, we'll go through a lot of these names, but just an incredible day across the board for a lot of these companies. Let's talk about OpenAI, because what they announced today, I think, is going to continue to make the argument for why AI is real. Here's Sam Altman giving some updates on stats. for his company, which likely is the reason for why they need as much compute as they need.
Back in 2023, we had 2 million weekly developers and 100 million weekly ChatGPT users. We were processing about 300 million tokens per minute on our API. And that felt like a lot to us, at least at the time. Today, 4 million developers have built with OpenAI. More than 800 people use ChatGPT every week, and we process over 6 billion tokens per minute on the API, thanks to all of you. AI has gone from something people play with to something people build with every day. Before we get started with all of today's announcements, we want to do something fun. On the screen behind me are the...
Okay, so you can see that they announced a lot of new numbers in regards to what's going on with the developer application of OpenAI. Here's the next thing he goes on to say. Not only do they have 4 million developers, they now have 800 million weekly ChatGPT users. Guys, last month, that was 700 million. Last month, that was 700 million. In a month, they added 100 million weekly, not monthly, not yearly, weekly active users. That means 800 million people every week come back to the platform. And they're processing 6 billion tokens per minute, which means if you do the math, OpenAI is on an annual run rate of 3.15 quadrillion tokens. No wonder they needed more compute from NVIDIA and AMD. I mean, like, and this is probably the lowest it's ever going to be. What happens when it's 8 billion tokens per minute or 10 billion tokens per minute? And by the way, XAI and Gemini, I don't know their exact numbers, but it doesn't seem like they're that far behind. And they're likely going to be expanding. Gemini with 450 million users that we got last time, they're probably up to like 550. Hopefully we'll see on their earnings soon. XAI doesn't disclose their numbers, but you could argue that it's in the hundreds of millions. And because of that, I mean, this is just not slowing down. This really is not slowing down. I think these numbers were purposely introduced today with the AMD announcement to kind of give people a better understanding of why AMD needs a partner, aka why they want to sell so many GPUs to a partner that they're willing to even bet their own equity on. Again, OpenAI will get 10% of AMD if they're able to deliver the amount of GPUs and data centers that AMD is willing to sell them, which is to the tune of about $100 billion of revenue over the next 5 years. But it also goes to show from an OpenAI investor perspective why they're willing to pay all this money, even though they're cash flow negative and they're not making a profit. Because one thing that Sam Altman said today is that the applications they want to put out into the world to monetize and make profits off of AI, they can't do because they don't have enough compute. So everyone's talking about, well, OpenAI doesn't make money. It's like, yeah, because they need compute. Compute is the bottleneck to be able to make that money. And eventually, if they're able to monetize in an effective way, they're going to need those data centers. Tesla right there, 452, looking like it's going for a high of day close. It was at 453. We got about 8 minutes left. And so I thought those numbers were pretty incredible. It gave an understanding about why AMD is up 25% on the day. NVIDIA was barely down about 1%, nothing too crazy at 185.90. And it was very bullish. It was very, very, very freaking bullish to see. So from that perspective, I don't think this is slowing down. That's why Iran, Bitfarm, all those other names are getting a bid. Iran right there up 15%. The VIX right here down about 2%. And you're just seeing more excitement in the AI space. Even Salesforce today, look at that, up 2.3%. Meta recovering a little bit at 714. Then Amazon was at 218, now at 221. Is Applovin still tanking? Who bought the dip on Applovin? 583. Okay, so bottom was 545. Now it's at 587. Again, dude, I just don't know enough about this company to buy the dip. But if I knew about them, and this is kind of like the Wells notice for Robinhood back a year ago. Remember, it was Nothing Burger. I don't know if the SEC probe is a Nothing Burger, but it feels like a Nothing Burger. So that one right there, 592, trying to recover back to 600. A couple people saying they bought a little bit. All right, let's see. We're going to have to get some more updates on that one. BMNR 63. This stock just continues to really help a lot of people. Again, I don't know if they diluted today. I don't think they did. Their MNAV has expanded today, which is nice because of the share performance relative to ETH. But if they didn't dilute, that's why this one is running 4,700 on Ethereum. Finally broke. The last time was at 4,700. I remember I was in Miami. So it was about a month ago or 2 months ago. And so 4,700 finally back for Ethereum is very nice. S&P 500 right there, up about 0.4%. Last thing on OpenAI, and we'll probably talk about this more later throughout the show, but not only did OpenAI announce all these new updates in regards to users, they announced chatting with apps. So if you take a look at this, you can now chat with applications inside of OpenAI. We'll talk about the Open Door news in a second because that was also pretty big. So there's Coursera, there's Figma. Figma was up 10% today based on this news. I think this is actually the biggest thing they announced today. Look at this. Someone said, I need a playlist for my party tonight. And Spotify pops up, which already has 700 million monthly active users and is integrated inside of ChatGPT. I mean, apps that respond to you makes it a lot more user-friendly and a lot more engaging to be able to engage with, to be able to use ChatGPT in the first place. I imagine XAI and Gemini are going to want to do this as well. We saw a preview of this with the Shopify announcement last week. It looks like they're reaching out to pretty much all the different products, Canva, Zillow, Figma, Spotify, all the tech companies that people use on a daily basis are now going to be implemented sort of intrinsically in the chat experience. And I don't think this is slowing down. For all those companies, this will be access to more users, more AI experiences, more forms of R&D that they'll be able to invest in to be able to utilize these native chat apps inside of their product. I mean, Spotify probably won't even have to go that heavy on building their own chat experience because all the users will be on ChatGPT, Gemini, XAI. They'll just be able to integrate with them and get the benefit from that. And if that leads to more subscribers and users for Spotify, if ChatGPT recommends a song and says, hey, you can listen to it on Spotify for someone who has never heard of Spotify, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. Here's the ROI on AI. That is correct. The biggest bear case I've heard today from people, because I asked the question on Twitter, I was like, how can you fade this? How can you fade what's happening right now in regards to this OpenAI AMD deal? And the number one argument people made was that, well, there's no ROI. And it's circular was the big thing that I heard today. And my argument is the circular argument is a moot point. I should have said mute, but moot point if there is any ROI from AI. And if you imagine the most smartest people on the planet are going to eventually get an ROI, then I think this whole circular financing thing, which at the end of the day, if you're going to be financing to the levels that these companies are financing it, yeah, it's going to be a bit circular. If there is any ROI, this whole circular thing is going to be a silly reason to be bearish 5 years from now. And from that perspective, I think that's very exciting. Does this kill the Apple App Store? I don't think so. But then again, who knows? Maybe we interact with apps through ChatGPT and Gemini and XAI, and we don't actually download the apps anymore. I mean, that's a little aggressive to say right now, but the point is you can have your imagination run wild is in terms of how this can expand for the broader economy. And, you know, it's one of those things where you can't leave out some of these possibilities. Apple right there, 256 down a little bit on the day. And if OpenAI creates a new app store, I mean, the Apple App Store has generated God knows how many hundreds of billions and how many trillions of dollars in market cap for Apple. That would be very beneficial for OpenAI. Look at Tesla running into the close. There's a big announcement tomorrow. We have no idea what it's going to be. 453.47. That is up 5%. Triple V, thank you for the $200 super chat. Appreciate you being here again, Mr. Triple V. Last week did buy another 1 million shares of Grab, and Grab broke out a little bit today. I don't think there's a fundamental reason for why Grab's breaking out. They did an article with the Wall Street Journal. They did an interview with the Wall Street Journal. I think them embracing the media is very bullish. I also think in general, they don't deserve to be anywhere near below $6. So last week, I bought a lot more at 580. We're at 640. We were at 660 a couple weeks ago. Let's see if we can actually break through above that 660 level. But very nice to see Grab getting some momentum. That's up 3.73%. Google right there is at 250. SoFi, 2637. Quantum having a great day. Look at D-Wave, 3509, hit 3642. That is up 7% on the day. Pretty incredible. Rigetti, that's up another 4.1%. IONQ, that's up 7.65. I believe 7886. That is an all-time high as well. Again, Amazon right there at 220. BMNR is moving today. Oklo was up in the morning. That one's still up 8%, along with a lot of the energy names. All of those getting Nanonuclear up 50%, 20%, all of those getting the benefit of the idea that AMD and OpenAI, to just two of the many different partners in this AI ecosystem, are going to need more energy. It's just the amount of energy that an OpenAI is going to need likely will come to some of those players, and that's why they're getting love. So pretty incredible. Now, the quick thing on Open Door said today they will accept Bitcoin as payments for houses. That's why Open Door is up 15%. So it begs the question, what are they going to do with that Bitcoin? Are they going to turn into a Bitcoin treasury if someone buys a house in Bitcoin? What happens if they buy a house in Bitcoin and then Bitcoin takes a little bit of a dip? Does the value of the house theoretically go down? Does Open Door ultimately sell the Bitcoin as soon as they get it? Like, there's a lot of different questions on how it's going to play out. But they did announce they will accept crypto as payments for homes today. And that's why that stock is up 14% on the day. So one of those days, it is what, and other cryptos. We don't know the other cryptos, but Bitcoin, I think, was the main one that was mentioned. Wild day, Crazy day. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, for AMD shareholders, today is your day. A lot of stocks got the benefit from this AMD announcement. But if you're in AMD, congratulations. It is one of those days, life-changing day for a lot of people that diligently bought the dip on that stock. And quite incredible to see. Monday, October 6th, 4 p.m., the stock market is now closed. All right, we're done for the day. We are done for the day. We got a bunch of different headlines we will get into. But we are done for the day, and it is quite incredible to see some of this momentum. S&P ends up today 671.58. That's up about 0.35% of the day. AMD gets the 203 close. Above 200, in my opinion, is bullish. Could it go below 200? Sure. Didn't get the 220 close, but still 23% of the day. Not too bad for a stock that really has not had a 20% day in a very long time. 203.79. That is green on the day. SoFi up 5%. Google back above 250. Grabby grab. We got the 640 close. We got the 640 close on Grabby grab. Not too bad. Pounds right there, 3.77% up in the day, 179.50. Hood, again, I am just not sympathetic to anyone complaining about Hood today. The stock was at 120 last Monday. It's at 144. It is what if you bought at 150, 149, I understand you're upset, but when you have a run like that, you're going to give a little bit of it back, and that's okay for Robinhood. NVIDIA right there down about 1%. Tesla, nice 5.4% run for the day. Most of that happening starting at basically 3:30, so in the last 30 minutes. Very nice to see that for Tesla. Circle right there is up about 2%. Pinterest up a little bit. Enphase up a little bit. Microsoft breaking through 520. Did break through 530 at one point, which was also very nice. How about next decade? That stock is at 745. Not bad. I still have not bought this yet, but if you bought it last week when Matt was talking about it, congrats. That's up 5.8%. VG as well. That one, $13.95, basically flat on the day. Oklo ended at 138. How about Rocket Lab? I think it almost touched 60. Rocket Lab, 58.39, got to 59.36 on the day. And Rocket Lab right there at 58.31. Amit, are you buying the Hood dip? No, because this is not a dip in my opinion. So I'm not buying the Hood dip after it goes from 120 to 150 back to 145. Dell right there, that's up 3.5%. Archer, I don't know why this was up 17%. I know there was some kind of speculation about a Tesla partnership. Maybe it's real, but I guess investors are really betting on something happening soon. Archer right there up 17% on the day. If there's another headline, let me know what's going on. Iran ends the day up 14%. Absolutely incredible. Baba was slightly flat. Pfizer slightly flat, down about 3%. Disney, that was flat. And Square, XYZ, that was also up 0.71% on the day. ASTS, just a massive, massive day, 72.42. This stock was basically at, 36 3 weeks ago with the SpaceX Spectrum acquisition. So, you got basically a double in about 3 weeks on that dip, 6.8%. Not too bad for ASTS. And then you got the S&P right here at 670. Where did BM&R close? Did we get 63? 62.99. 62.99 is what we got for BM&R. We have two earnings after hours. AEHR Test Systems. I know some people know about this stock. I think Roy has talked about this before. Is this a semiconductor name? Yes, it's a manufacturer for burn-in equipment used in the semiconductor industry. And then you have Constellation Brands, which, if I'm not wrong, that's like Modelo's, all the different alcohol brands. So we'll take a look at their earnings in a second. That one was down 2%. Applovin, again, the headline for Applovin, down about 13%. It was at 545. Now it's at 592. SEC probe. Don't know what exactly the probe is about. Kind of feels like a nothing burger. SEC has specifically looked into allegations that App violated partner service agreements to push more targeted ads. I mean, shit, they probably did. They're growing 77% year over year. Got to break some rules to get that type of growth, but we'll see if it has any meaningful impact. 596 right there on Applovin. Path, did Path pump today? Did it? UiPath, 13%. Okay, that made a move last week too. They had a pretty decent earnings. So it looks like it's getting back to some of those levels. And then Micron, 191. That was up about 2%. That was up about 2% of the day. All right, let's get into some headlines. I'll keep a track on those earnings when they come out, and we'll look at those two companies. But we got a bunch of different headlines to get into. First of all, just one word reaction. How was your day? I mean, if you're an AMD shareholder, you've got to have had a decent day. I mean, just across the board, Grab, BM&R, AMD, SoFi recovering, Google back to 250. it was a pretty incredible day. Schwab released their September metrics in terms of what their users did. Top 5 buys on Schwab in September: NVIDIA, Palantir, Amazon, Oracle, Opendoor. NVIDIA, Palantir, Amazon, Oracle, Opendoor. Top 5 sells on Schwab, which was one of the only platforms today that really didn't have any issues in regards to the outage this morning. Tesla, Apple, Baba, Micron, SMCI. So people took profits on Micron. SMCI had a little bit of a run. I guess people took some profits on. Baba had a massive run. That makes sense. Apple had a massive run. That makes sense. And Tesla also had a massive run. So people bought NVIDIA and Palantir into strength. Opendoor, I guess you could say, on a dip. It fell from 10 to 7. Oracle definitely into strength because that was when they made that announcement 3 weeks ago about the RPO growth of 450%. And then Amazon, I guess, into weakness. And they sold Tesla, Apple, Baba, Micron, and SMCI into strength. Now, Schwab said clients were overall net buyers in September, and they saw more broadening trading activity outside of the Mag 7, which I think is bullish because it means more and more people were buying different names, not just the Mag 7. And that's not too bad for Schwab. Okay, I didn't get a chance to look that deeply into Comerica and the Fifth Third merger, but that was a big regional bank. That was a big regional bank acquisition today, if I'm not wrong. I really didn't get a chance to look too deep into it. FITB right here was down about 1.4% of the day. We'll try to get some coverage on this, and I got to look a little bit more into it. But given the AMD stuff today, I had no chance to even pay attention to this. But I did mention last week, regional banks, I think we're going to see more activity. I really do. KRE, I have not bought it yet. It was up 1% on the day. This one hasn't run. Lower rates are really good for regional banks. So I do think we could see some more consolidation. That would be rather bullish for those companies. AEHR, Air Test Systems, down 10%. Air Test Systems down 10% on the day. Bluebird said I made $40,000 on AMD calls today. Congratulations. What a day for so many people. Okay, this one's down 10%. I'll see if I can get the exact numbers on this one. But this is the beginning of some of the earnings we have. No numbers yet. We do have Constellation. They beat 363 versus 341. That's beat by 6%. 2.48 versus 2.4x is the beat by 1%. Revenue still down 15% year over year. EPS is down 16% year over year. Again, we have seen a little bit of a decline in alcohol sales. Actually, more than a little bit, quite frankly. There was a study by the FT that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, Constellation's flat, that says Americans are consuming way less alcohol. Like it's down 90% over the past 50 years. And then one argument also that we saw was that there's more immigrants that are being deported, and a lot of those immigrants are Hispanic, and a lot of them tend to drink some of the brands that Constellation creates. And so that is actually having, even the Constellation CEO mentioned that on their last earnings call, a bit of an impact on this company. And so from that perspective, you do have numbers that are climbing year over year, but you do have EPS beats on the top and the bottom line for Constellation Brands. Everyone smokes weed now. No one drinks. I guess so. Tilray has earnings this week. I guess that might be the reason. But you are seeing a little bit of weakness there. Amazon right there, that's up 0.61. And then Meta, that's up 0.62 as well. Amit's doing his part, though, to keep the sales up. That is correct. Your boy's drinking. Your boy is drinking on Saturday nights and then needs Tylenol in the morning to recover. Tesla still going after hours, 4:54. We have no idea what time this new announcement is coming out tomorrow. We're going to see. Maybe it's in the morning. Maybe it's some special event. But you do have Tesla that is making a bit of a move. Oh, by the way, White House official said we are not considering a stake in critical metals despite Reuters reporting on CRML. This is why ultimately I didn't buy, because it's a rumor at the end of the day. So this thing was at 15, went all the way down to 11.28. So people lost almost 40 to 45% if they bought at the top, and that sucks. And it's still up 40%, even though the White House confirmed that we're not making a stake, which means some people still believe that the White House is just diverting attention because eventually they are going to take a stake. But it's different from Intel. Intel ran after the confirmation and then went up even more. When you take a stake in some of these companies, you just don't know if they're true. But a White House official did come out today and say we are not interested in taking a stake in that one. So there you go. Tesla's definitely going to make it an 11:30 p.m. announcement. They did that last time. Remember Tesla delayed it by 2 hours? Everyone was just waiting literally for 2 hours for the announcement. I think this was back in October of last year. 670, 170 on the S&P. So it might take some time. Amit, do you think Hood is down because the platform is down this morning? Honestly, no, dude. And speaking of that, let me bring up some of these charts. I really don't think it's down because the platform was down. I think the stock is up 20% in a week. Like it was going to give some of it back. So I don't know, dude. Maybe. So this is down detector. This is just the objective screenshots from the website. Fidelity reportages over the last 24 hours. Webull reported outages over the last 24 hours, and then Robinhood. So Robinhood was an aggressive one, but it's not like Fidelity and Webull weren't participating in that. And we could tell from the chat based on what the chat said today. Also with IBKR. So could that be the reason? Sure. But if you think for a second I'm losing sleep over Robinhood going from 120 to 150 back to 144, I mean, that's where the bull market gets people to get too aggressive and too cocky. It's like, dude, like it's okay for stocks to take a breather. And if you think they're not allowed to take a breather, then I mean, you're going to get your face ripped off many times. So yeah, I do not think it's that big of a deal. Applovin, that one's still down 14.6%, 583 on the day. 544 was the low. Tried to get back to 600. Now right back to 583. Yeah, maybe some insider selling today was on Hood. We'll find out in about 30 minutes and we'll see what's going on there once the forums come out. That could have been an easy reason to explain it, but it seems like there was something around taking profits today. Someone said, where can I watch the Anthony Tan Grab interview? I will link it right here in the chat. Shout out to our boy Mike. He's the one who's on top of all the Grab DD. So I put that link in the chat. You can follow him there if you care about Grab. And that link will take you to the interview with the Wall Street Journal. Again, Anthony Tan in the interview said, I can't tell you our Q3 numbers, but we are growing very fast is exactly the words he said on the top and the bottom line. And that to me is likely signaling Q3 is going to be strong. All right, Dan Ives, let's get some thoughts from him. We got a bunch of different headlines to get into, but here's his take on why AMD is part of this AI revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, this for Lisa Su and AMD, I mean, this brings them right into the AI revolution. And I think that wasn't factored into the stock. You know, it's part of why it's in the Ives AI 30. I think this is actually just the start for AMD because this next stage of the AI revolution takes hold. Openai, what they're doing here, I think other companies are noticing, and I think there's just the start of more tech players making these moves.
What's it mean for NVIDIA, do you think, big picture?
Look, there's still only one godfather of AI, and that's Jensen and NVIDIA. I think what you're seeing is this is a validation moment for AI in terms of where use cases are going. And it's my view. I mean, NVIDIA is a $250 stock as this all plays out. Now, great, muted reaction today. But I think it shows this AI arms race is playing out. And you talking with Ed about where we are in 1999, 2000. Scott, I think, and I've talked, we're in a 1996 moment today, not a 1999 moment.
I mean, what kind of moat premium, if you will, do you think is in NVIDIA's stock?
Look, I think there's a moat premium that's in there, but the reality is 90% of the AI spend they're going to get. Now, granted, ultimately, AMD could probably get 10% of it. Maybe now that's more 15, 20%. But the reality is demand to supply is still 10, 12 to 1 for NVIDIA chips. And that's a real moat. And that's why I think this is going to be a $5 trillion market cap. And ultimately, you're going to see more and more tech players. Stocks are going to continue to move higher. I think the street is still massively underestimating the spending on the AI revolution.
Why are you so convinced that we're in 96 and not 99? When you hear somebody like Paul Tudor Jones say it feels exactly like 1999, I don't know whether we'll actually replay it exactly, but I think all the ingredients are in place.
Mm-hmm. Because there's some of myself that covered tech stocks back in the 90s to where we are today, spending all my time around the world in Asia, seeing the chips, seeing demand. We're in the second inning of a 9-inning game. I'm not saying you're not going to have some froth that's out there, but I think the street's still underestimating the spending that probably by 30, 35%. And that's what OpenAI sees. That's what AMD sees. That's what the Godfather Jensen sees. And I think and that's why Nadella, and I think from Palantir to others, this is just the next phase of the AI revolution. That's why it's 1996 as this fourth industrial revolution plays out.
Okay, so Dan, obviously pretty bullish on the idea of where AI is going. Trump's about to go live. I don't think he's live yet, but the White House put up a stream. I don't know what Trump's talking about today. I don't think. Oh, no, he's live already. Okay, let me see. Let me see what they got. They literally just went live. 30 seconds ago. Here we go.
Anything to do with Alaska, a place that I'm very familiar with. And we're making it greater, bigger, and more powerful, and job producing. It's an economic gold mine, so to speak. And I signed this years ago, and Biden unsigned it for me. This was something that should have been long operating and making billions of dollars for our country and supplying a lot of energy and minerals and everything else that we're talking about. And they undid it and wasted a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort. And now we're starting again. And this time we have plenty of time to get it done, and it's going to be done properly. I'd like to ask your Department of Interior head, who has done a fantastic job, Doug Burgum, to say a few words about it. And we'll go to Chris after you and anybody else that wants to say something.
Trump, yesterday is a historic day. President Trump, as he promised when he was running in the election to the American people, that he was going to unlock the potential of this country. He was going to unlock America's mineral wealth. He was going to generate returns for American people. And he was going to importantly bolster critical supply chains around critical minerals for our country. On day one, he signed in a very important executive order unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. And this is part of the continuation. There's a number of things that have already happened with Alaska that are moving forward. There's more to come, but big milestone today. In reversing this Biden era decision about the Ambler Road, this is a 211-mile long road that begins over 200 miles north of Fairbanks off the Hall Road that goes up to the North Slope. This road goes to an area where there's no roads. Ambler Mining District at the end of that has some of the richest mining deposits in all of America and in all of the world. And these are minerals that are absolutely an area where there's no roads. Ambler Mining District at the end of that has some of the richest mining deposits in all of America and in all of the world. And these are minerals that are absolutely essential to defense, to industry moving forward today. Just take copper alone. This is one of the richest copper locations in the country. And of course, today to build a copper required for that, even a single family home today may have as much as 400 pounds of copper in a home. And we have, as a nation, in the past, have basically gotten out of the mineral and energy and mining area. President Trump, when he said drill baby drill, he also was mine baby mine. We've got to get back in the mining business. China controls 85 to 100% of all the mining and refining of the top 20 critical minerals. And in this mine area up there, we got copper, lead, zinc, gold, silver, gallium, germanium. So rich in all of the minerals that we need to win the AI arms race against China and to prosper as a country. And so again, today.
Okay, so we'll go back to that when we have some more updates. But the headline is Trump has signed an executive order on Alaska to further unlock its economic potential in minerals and energy, reversing a Biden-era action that didn't allow you to mine in Alaska. So it looks like it's not just for gold or for oil, which Alaska is rich in, but rather for minerals. And we've seen what happened with Lithium Americas. We saw what happened with rare earth minerals and those companies like MP, USAR. MP right there up about 3.68% on the day. USAR, that one up 1.2%. He did mention copper. I mean, copper is one of those commodities that might be lagging silver and gold and could have a run as well. Gold, by the way, did we cross 4,000? Did we touch 4,000 today? We're at 39.84. Did anyone see if we crossed 4,000? I feel like we got very close at one point today. We might have crossed above it, but looks like Alaska is opening up for the United States. So there you go. That's what we got. What is the Chamath connection with MP Materials? That was one of his SPACs. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was one of his SPACs. We didn't. 39.94 is the highest we got to. Okay. Vincent says, I live in Alaska. Good luck. Not easy to just ramp up production. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, it's probably going to take years, and there's going to be a lot of infrastructure needed to get that to actually happen. But it looks like the pullback of the regulation from the Biden era is the first step, at least from Trump's perspective, to actually make this happen. Bank of America, they raised their price target on AMD from 200 to 250. We estimate that the Openai deal could be worth $100 billion based on every 1 gigawatt, requiring roughly 400,000 to 500,000 AMD 4 i50X GPUs. ASP could be higher as a part of AMD's Helios rack scale implementation and depending on networking content, which initially is likely to be Broadcom's Ethernet switches. We believe this Openai deal is incremental to other Middle East sovereign deals AMD signed earlier this year. We know that article from last week that Jensen was a bit annoyed at the Trump administration because they're not giving the Middle East the ability to buy chips yet because the Middle East has to make some investments to make Trump satisfied with the deal they signed back in May. But once that happens, I think it's actually really bullish because that means Middle East revenue has not come all year to NVIDIA. It's not factored into the guidance likely. China revenue, we know is not factored into the guidance for AMD or NVIDIA. It's like to the super bull case, which Jensen did give us, likely not happening in Q3 or Q4. But if that comes up in Q1 26 for both companies, very, very bullish to keep that hopefully at least 35 to 40% growth for NVIDIA and then 25 to 30% growth for AMD in 2026. So not too bad. Not too bad at all. It wasn't a Chamath SPAC. He was just an investor. Okay, I thought it was a SPAC from his. I think he was one of the bigger investors back when it went public. But yeah, it might not have been a SPAC. Yes, I rolled my BM&R to January 105s. And look, if it gets to 105, it gets to 105. If it gets above that, it is what it is. But this is just incredible. Now, Tanner did a great video on BM&R today. I'll link it right here in the chat. And essentially the takeaway from the video is if you believe Tom Lee's price targets on Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's the video right there in the chat. Conservatively, ETH would be around $147, which is quite incredible. Now Tanner is not saying Bitmine will be $147. He's saying if Tom Lee is right about his price targets on Ethereum, which is closer to 12,000, Bitmine conservatively would be $147. Will it get to 12,000? I don't know. I mean, none of us know, right? But theoretically, if it did, so some people are misconstruing it. They were like, "Oh, Tanner says BM&R to 147." I texted Tanner. I was like, "Tanner, BM&R 140." It's like, "No, I said if this happens to Bitmine or to Ethereum, then." He was like, "I was just showing the math. It's not my target." But nonetheless, the point is, if ETH runs, this could do very well, which would be very exciting. Do you still own HIMS? Yes, I still have my 700 shares of HIMS, 55 average. Have not done anything with those. Honestly, I don't know why I have them. It's just not a real position. I'm not DCAing into it that heavily, but I do think it's a cheap stock. It's just stuck in the portfolio. We'll see end of year what I end up doing with that, but I still have those 700 shares. Applovin still down 17%. It's getting awfully close to those lows of 545 at 567. I don't have any more updated coverage on this one. I really don't know if this is a buy the dip. My gut tells me it is, but the problem is, like, what if this SEC probe is actually a big deal? What if it's not, though? But Applovin, that one is still down. Oh, let's take a look at the stock draft, and let's take a look at Duolingo along with the heat map. We'll see what we got there. Then we have a couple other headlines. Duolingo, wow, it's actually up today, 324. Okay, so that's a bit green. We're at 40%. Matt's at 40.69. Wow. Rocket Lab and ASTS are making it hard to pull away from Matt. I'm at 40.9. He's at 40.6. Tanner's at 24. Steve's at 8.3. And then Chris is at 12.93. AMD and Nebius helping me a lot. Grab helping me. Duolingo's still the one that's hurting. If Matt didn't have Dutch Bros and I didn't have Duolingo, that would be helping us a lot. But that's his loser and that's my loser with Duolingo. But we are neck and neck now on the stock draft. Duolingo right there, 324. Intel was actually up at one point today at like 38. Then it came down. S&P still at 671. Where was Oscar and UNH today? Oscar 2230. Look at that. New all-time high for Oscar. Is that right? No. Okay. So Oscar's been around since 2021. Okay. Well, new 52-week high. But Oscar, this thing was at $12 a month ago, so not too bad. Lemonade right here. That one was up 2.4%. And then UNH, that one slightly down on the day, 359. Slightly down. And then Iran, again, just a massive, massive day for these data center plays. Let me know in the chat what we did. Buy, sell, hold. I mean, I asked in the morning. A lot of people said they took some profits on AMD Leaps. Put in the chat, what action did you take today? It was one of those green days, dude, across the board. I mean, you had some names that really didn't make that big of a move, but other names really were massive. AMD right there, 204. Again, SoFi, the reason it was up is I believe because of the BitGo partnership, which wasn't formally announced, but SoFi was on their website as like a new crypto partner, which I think is pretty damn bullish for their crypto ambitions. But it looks like that got some more momentum. Polymarket is saying there's a 77% chance that ChatGPT will have 1 billion monthly active users by 2025. And then Kalshi said that Bitcoin now is a there is a 59% chance that it would get above 145,000. So you got the prediction markets that are pretty damn bullish on not only ChatGPT user growth, but also Bitcoin momentum as we get into the end of the year. Benny said, I took some wins on AMD and NVIDIA, bought some more Amazon and Google, and I scalped a little app and PayPal. Jay said I took half profits on Leaps. Pascal said I bought some BM&R. Dude, the FOMO on BM&R also is getting to people. I saw a lot of posts this morning of people saying, screw it, bro. I'm just buying. It's hard to time it, right? And, if ETH doesn't give you a dip, it's going to be hard for that MNAV to go down on Bitmine. You're going to really need to see ETH. Even if they dilute, like ETH needs to come down to get prices close to $50 again. So that could definitely be getting a lot of people to buy in. Manon said I sold some covered calls on Bitmine, 90 for November 21st. Amar said I'm still holding. Shirley said I bought APLD for an earnings play. We talked about Open. Again, Open, they accepted crypto today, or at least that's what they announced. Let me see if Kaz tweeted about it. That's why that stock blew up 15% in the morning. ETH's going to 5K. It feels like it wants to, especially with Bitcoin moving the way it is. It feels like it wants to. William says, I set up my sister's Roth today. I added BM&R and Grab. Not bad. Getting your family into those retirement accounts. It's very, very important. Very, very important to get that started. So that's awesome stuff, William. Dillian said, I bought the tiny Nebius dip. Was there a Nebius dip? Dude, did Nebius end red for the day? Yeah, people were losing their minds about Nebius and Hood today. And I'm just like, dude, like these Nebius was $30 3 months ago. Hood was $70 3 months ago. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is healthy. This is very healthy to see Hood make a little bit of consolidation right here. Would I love it to be 160? Sure. But I also want it to happen in a healthy manner. And same thing with Nebius. I mean, Nebius has moved massively since that Microsoft deal. I don't think any long-term investor is that upset. Now, if you bought the tops of these, it is what it is. But if you're buying into strength, one of the things about buying into strength is that the strength can go against you. And you got to be okay with that. So I don't think I would be too worried about Nebius or Hoodie right here. There's CoreWeave news today. Was there news for that? CoreWeave, Moosh, thank you for the super chat. 134.61. That also went down. CoreWeave and Nebius were both up in the morning. That one took a little bit of a hit, it looks like, with Nebius as well. Next Decade, that was green. I see some of you guys say you bought that. 737 up 4.7. And the Qs, 607, were also green on the day. Okay, let's finish up with Dan Ives, and then we'll see if we can get some more analysis on what's going on with Alaska and Trump.
You're right. I mean, then there's like Lisa Shallot of Morgan Stanley who suggests we're in the 7th inning because the AI spend, all this CapEx, you can't possibly be in the 2nd inning with the kind of money that's being thrown around. I read the quote earlier from Stacy Rascon of Sam Altman. OpenAI has the ability to either crash the global economy for a decade or take us to the promised land. I know what side of that argument you're clearly on, but there's a credible argument to say that you're underestimating where we are in the cycle.
Yeah, and Scott, to that point, I'd say, look, 3% of enterprise in the U.S. have gone down the AI path. None in Europe. You look at Asia ex-China, minimal. Sovereigns are just starting to play out like we've seen Middle East and UK. Think about it, as more and more enterprises, rest of the world plays out. Guess what? For the first time in 30 years, the U.S. is ahead of China when it comes to tech. So it's U.S. tech that's going to win. Now, granted, the circular in terms of OpenAI, NVIDIA, AMD, and some of the worries there. Look, I just view it like this. For OpenAI, for every $1 they put into AMD, they'll get $12 to $15. NVIDIA, the same thing. And I think that's why this is more of a 1996 moment than a 1999 moment, despite obviously a lot of the worries. And that's why we think NASDAQ 25,000, NASDAQ 30,000. These are going to be some of the conversations over the next 1, 2, 3 years.
Let's leave it.
I mean, look, Dan's making the argument that he's been making for the past 2 years, which is that this is an industrial build out. He also mentioned that supply to demand when it comes to AI infrastructure versus the amount of demand for the infrastructure is still about 12 to 1. So from that perspective, you can understand why AMD has signed this deal with OpenAI. Again, the most important part about the deal today with AMD is they are betting their equity on the success of this partnership. And Lisa Su described it this morning as trying to align not only shareholders with AMD and their approach to this, but also OpenAI with their approach to this. Because the idea is, hey, OpenAI, if you can own 10% of us with the last tranche of your vesting for the equity at $600, that means you have to 3x the market value of AMD. What's their market cap? 200, 300 billion today? 330. You basically got to get this. You got to take us to $1 trillion for you guys to actually buy your warrants at 1 cent a share. And OpenAI is like, that makes sense because we're contributing to all the market cap and value creation because we're the ones buying all your GPUs. So we should have a stake in the value creation that we are creating as one of your biggest partners. And I think Lisa Su was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because our data center revenue growth is not that good. And so if we can get a partner that we can align incentives on, it makes a ton of sense. And that's why I think this AMD deal was pretty sophisticated. Now, one thing I will say right here is that there is a lot of pressure on OpenAI. And I think people might have noticed this already, but NVIDIA and OpenAI $100 billion deal, Oracle and OpenAI $300 billion deal, AMD and OpenAI basically another $100 billion deal. Like if OpenAI doesn't work, we're going to have some issues. OpenAI needs to work, whether you like Sam Altman or not. And I know a lot of people hate Sam Altman and OpenAI because they love Elon, and that's fine. I would tend to be a bigger fan of Elon than Sam Altman as well. However, this shit's got to work because if it doesn't work, we're going to have some really big issues when it comes to the broader AI ecosystem. OpenAI, one could argue, is a key man risk. And that's why I spent some time at the beginning of the show talking about their 800 million weekly users, 4 million developers, 6 billion tokens per minute. Like this stuff has to go up into the right. It has to go up into the right aggressively over the next 3 to 4 years, or else there's going to be a lack of ROI and there's going to be this missing button in the system of AI that unfortunately is not able to pass around the money that currently is being passed from one entity to the other. Again, if there's an ROI on this, the circular logic of the money being financed around is not that big of a deal. But it needs to happen. And so I think all of us have to care about OpenAI. By the way, Sora, I got a couple invite codes to it. I've not signed up for Sora yet, but the reviews I'm seeing on Sora are insane. Like genuinely insane. It is the #1 app on the App Store. It is beating Gemini. It is beating ChatGPT. It's beating Facebook, beating Instagram. People are calling it the new TikTok. The amount of compute that's going to be needed is crazy. And for Sora to come out with more and more, or for OpenAI to come out with more and more products that are consumer oriented and monetizable, like a Sora, which, I mean, if Sora takes off to billions of users, the amount of advertising revenue they'll make will be gigantic, right? Or the amount of paid subscriptions. For them to do multiple verticals of this stuff, you're going to need more compute. And so I think it makes sense that they're doing this. By the way, OpenAI acquired a consumer finance company called ROI. Did anyone see this? Roy? This one came out last week. Maybe OpenAI is going to build a massive personal finance app that connects all your net worth and brokerages, bank accounts, all that stuff. And then you can just ask questions to the product, your credit card debt, all that stuff. It was an acqui-hire, so they really wanted the team from this company. But imagine they launch a $20 per month AI finance app and, 10, 15 million people start paying for it because they want to keep track of their finances. I mean, there's a lot of different verticals that this can run into. And as a result, I think OpenAI, eventually they're going to have to go public at $1 trillion. Right now they're 500 billion, but a lot of pressure rests on them, which is why keeping up with their progress is important. Oscar right there up a little bit after hours, 22.97, going for 23. I don't think there's any news on Oscar yet, but that one's still running. Applovin still down, dude, 18%. Very close to its lows of the session at 545. It's at 559, down $123 on the day. My goodness. Still trying to get some more updates on that, but that one is still down. And so we'll see what happens with Applovin. John, thank you for the 42.69 super chat. I see what you did there. Congrats to Chips and Ontology shareholders. Chips and Ontology. Palantir has been a massive winner this year. AMD and NVIDIA, massive winners this year as well. Richard, thank you for the super chat. Thanks, Mig. Great show. Very informative. Today, I had 101,000 profit. Absolutely incredible. I'm now a millionaire. Richard, congratulations. Someone said that in the morning as well. They went from like 50 to 280 today on their portfolio because of AMD. It's just massive, massive, massive to see that. Clayton, thank you for becoming a channel member. And then Torpa, Thank you for becoming a channel member as well. Brandon, thanks for the $10 super chat. The bubble talk is beginning to feel lazy for those that have missed the gains. Tech firms through AI are increasing revenues, margin, and free cash flow compared to 1999 with ballooning debt. This is not the same. I agree. It's not the same. It's a fundamentally different dynamic. And when you understand that dynamic, Oscar, I'll see if there's any news right here, but that's going up after hours. Then it really does not start to feel like 99. It starts to feel more like 96, 97, which means there is more time for this to play out. I don't see any news after hours on Oscar. Oh, Trump says he would make a deal on Affordable Care Act subsidies. Let's see if he's taking questions. That's probably moving markets, which is why we tend to listen to when Trump is talking. Let me pull that up.
We have the A+ team working on it. I think we've made tremendous progress. And yeah, the people of Israel wanted to happen, but the people related to hostages. I mean, you see in Israel tens of thousands of people. They really.
Okay, so he's talking about geopolitics. We'll see when he gets back to business. But that's a big deal, dude. That's a big deal. He would make a deal on Affordable Care Act subsidies. I mean, he's not saying he would extend it, but if he does extend it, that is very bullish, Oscar. Bullish all the other healthcare companies as well. UNH not really catching a bid right there, but Oscar is $22.95. And that one getting some level. See what other headlines we can get from Trump. By the way, Granny Shots, 3 billion AUM. Shout out to Mr. Tom Lee. Pretty incredible stuff. When I did my interview with him on July, 4th, he had 1.5 billion in AUM. So that has gone up by double, which is quite incredible. And it looks like it's not slowing down. Trump says, all right, so here's some headlines. Trump says layoffs could be triggered if the Senate vote on the shutdown fails. He says negotiations is going on with the Democrats. He says he thinks there will be a deal with Gaza very soon. He says Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important. And then he says he would make a deal on the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Those are the headlines we have right now from that press conference. And that's what's moving Oscar after hours. Yep, that's what is moving Oscar. And then Applovin dealing with this SEC thing. So we got to see what happens there. 559. Is Applovin halted? No, it's not halted. 560. Dude, that's crazy. This thing was 745 last week. That is wild, bro. Imagine freaking the SEC came out and said, we're investigating Robinhood for whatever. And it went from 150 back to 120. Like all the excitement we had last week just completely wiped out. So I feel for the people in Applovin, but if this is a nothing burger, then this probably would be a good dip. TMQ is up 134% after hours. Is this real? Is Trump buying this? Did Trump already say he's making an investment? Let me see. TMQ, was that during the day or that's after hours? TMQ. No, I don't know if they're investing. TMQ surges after Trump signs executive order to construct access roads. Oh, no, U.S. is making an investment. Yup, confirmed. U.S. to make investment in Trilogy Minerals. And along with giving them access to a Ambler mining district in Alaska, this will be massive for copper and gold mining. And it looks like we don't have the percentage stake of this investment. Trilogy Metals engages in the development and exploration of mineral properties. The firm holds interest in the Upper Kobuk mineral projects that include the Arctic, a copper, zinc, lead, gold, silver, and bornite project in northern Alaska. It's up $2 after hours, 132%. Wow. Yep, there you go. After hours. Yeah, that is confirmed. They did say they were making an investment. One of the officials, not Trump himself, one of the guys that was talking during the press conference said that they will be making an investment. There you go, 100. I mean, this is what Trump is starting to do. He's trying to turn the Treasury into a VC fund and take these stakes. And now, granted, look, he's not taking stakes in Google and Meta. He's taking stakes in companies that depend on our national security, which you could argue rare earth minerals, lithium, all that stuff really does matter. So I'm not that opposed to it, quite frankly, because it makes sense. Now, if it was like Google and Meta, that'd be a whole different question, but looks like that's what Trump is trying to do. Oscar, are we moving higher? Oscar, wow, 25. Oscar says, I'm going to participate in this bull run. Oh my. Well, what did he, That's a delayed reaction to the Trump news about the subsidies then. That's a delayed reaction because we got that news 10 minutes ago. It was stuck at 22. So maybe the market needed a second to embrace. I mean, if you bought at 22 10 minutes ago when we covered that, there you go, 25. It's getting some love. Let me get a little bit of coverage on the Alaska stuff, and then we'll keep going from there. But Oscar, 25.17 looks like subsidies will be extended on the ACA, and that is very bullish for Oscar.
Hey, John, two big things that have come out of the Oval Office so far. Number one, Trump saying that he is currently in negotiations with Democrats over those Affordable Care Act tax credits. Now, Trump did not provide a lot of details, and what he is saying is counter to what his own press secretary said just a few hours ago and saying there are no negotiations. So this potentially seems to be a very new development. We don't have a lot of details at the time, but if this is something that Trump wants to get done, that does add a lot of momentum to Republicans who are part of bipartisan conversations to get these tax credits through, and really could change the dynamic and direction of the shutdown, providing for a possible off-ramp. Second big thing that came up was actually an announcement saying that the White House has now greenlit a road through Alaska, more than 200 miles, that will help with the development of copper as well as other minerals. This is the Ambler Access Road, and it's Trilogy Metals has a huge stake in the road. This is something that they've been a part of, have commented on in the past. This road was initially greenlit by the Trump administration in his first term and reversed by the Biden administration, and now it seems to be back on with Trump. We also know that the House of Representatives actually voted last month to approve the access for this road. Of course, there are some environmental concerns, but at this point, it seems like Trump is hitting the go button on it.
All right, so pretty bullish for the Alaska drilling. It looks like we have a little bit of coverage as well on Applovin. Let's see if we've got something here. Let's see if we can get any update on that.
Just focus on rolling out Axon 2.0, and really Unity missed a whole product cycle, which allowed Applovin to just explode and now be, about $15 billion of gross advertising spend. And that's about, almost half of the mobile gaming market, we think right now, but obviously they're going through this massive TAM expansion going into e-commerce as well.
Life comes at you fast. Bernie, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so nothing on the SEC probe, just general analysis on Applovin. Oscar losing 25, 24.47. That's up 12.4. Palantir up 3.5. SoFi still moving after hours, 5.3. Tesla, dude, I'm pretty excited about what the heck Tesla's going to announce tomorrow. Imagine it's the Roadster is finally out. Like, there's a ton of different products they've had in the pipeline for a long time. An affordable Model Y. Maybe that's why Elon bought $1 billion of stock too. Maybe Elon was just like, bro, I know that although the EV subsidies are going away, there's a ton of different things in terms of catalyst that can get the stock to move. And maybe at 380, that's why he bought more. Imagine it's a partnership with, dude, if Tesla does a partnership with AMD tomorrow. By the way, there was definitely some people that knew about AMD. There was some OTM call options, about 7 million of it bought last week. Someone knew. There's no way AMD was negotiating this with an Openai, and no one knew that this was coming. And if anyone knew last night, if anyone even had just a like a inkling of intuition of maybe like there was going to be some deal. I mean, the call options today were up 168,000%. If you bought like $200 calls expiring on Friday. Just like there's a lot of people that made a lot of money on this, and who knows, maybe there's a partnership that will be very exciting for Tesla tomorrow when we see the most traded stocks in the options market today. Let's take a look at that. AMD's got to be up there. Yep, AMD for the first time gets number one. It probably got number one a long time ago, but it has been a minute since we've seen AMD at number one. 2.4 million, 1.5 million calls were bought. 974,000 puts were bought. Tesla 1.8, Nvidia 1.8, iBit, Opendoor, SoFi, Amazon. Archer's up there, dude. People really think this Archer Tesla thing could be a deal. Look at that, 550,000 calls on Archer, 115,000 puts. Nice little 4-to-1 call to put skew there. It's getting the market pretty bullish. Apple, Intel, Meta, Plug, Palantir, Snapchat made the top 20 today. Microsoft, Iran, Bitmine, of course, that was a big day. Micron, Marathon, and then MicroStrategy. Those were the names that were up there today. Yeah, IBIT's getting, I mean, look, Bitcoin's making a move. So, the inflows on Bitcoin and Ethereum, by the way, on the ETF should look, I mean, just look at we haven't looked at this in about a week, but take a look at Bitcoin inflows. For the past 5 days, 518 million, 429 million, 675 million, 672 million. October 3rd on Friday, 985 million. Today, I would imagine we're probably going to get around that $500 to $700 million range, if not more. And then Ethereum, probably at that same level. Yeah, this is Ethereum for last week. 540 million, 127 million, 80 million, 307 million, 233 million. Today, you're probably going to get above 200 million again. I mean, big money is coming into these names. And that's what Tom Lee was talking about in his conference in Singapore as well. Yeah, the 205 call is up 33,000% for AMD. It's pretty wild. It's pretty freaking wild. Where do you check this info? Option, there's a website I do, optioncharts.io. That's the website that I use. So if you're interested in that, you can actually search any stock on that website and get tons of option data. So let's do grab right here. We'll do grab. I'm going to look at expiration for the volume of all the, can you guys see this? Yes, you can see this. Yeah, look, wait, no, this, I want to see today. I want to see volume today. Volume. Yeah, look at that, dude. 98,000 calls on grab today, 16,000 puts. I mean, you're starting to see a lot of this bullish flow. Again, I don't think there's any crazy grab news. I just think Anthony Tan engaging with the media is definitely more bullish. And that's leading to some more excitement. Roadster is not going to contribute to the bottom line. It'll be 1/10 of Cybertruck sales. That is true. I mean, an affordable Model Y would be way better than a Roadster. Well, okay, put in the chat. What do we think is affordable? Like, because my Model Y was, I think, 44,000 with 0% APR after the tax credit. So if it's like, I think they got to get it to 35 grand for it to be like, and even that's a little bit up there. But now, granted, used car prices have increased dramatically. I don't think they're going to get anywhere below 30,000. There's not even going to be a chance they make money on it. Unless Tesla says, screw it, we're going to give up all of our margin to get people to buy FSD, which is not crazy, given that's the pivot they're doing. If they come out with a $30,000 car, you know, maybe that's a real competitor to the Civic and the Corolla. Everyone says 30 to 35. I don't know, dude. I feel like 35 is the most they're going to be able to do. Realistically, I think it's probably going to be like 38, 39, but 35 would be amazing. Trump says Diddy asked for a pardon. That's crazy, bro. Diddy, for those that don't know, got 4 years in jail last week. Well, he was bound to ask. He was definitely going to ask. Yeah, everyone's saying 30 to 35. I agree. I mean, we're talking about real affordability, 30 to 35. 30 would obviously be the best idea there, but I just, they only have a 17% margin, which is better than Ford and all the other guys. So the question is, could they actually get it to those levels? Let's go back to Trump. Let's see if he's talking any other business stuff, and we'll keep going from there. Oscar still moving after hours based on this ACA extension of the subsidy. Oscar 2381, so down from 25, but still up from 21 at the close.
You would have at least 4 of the 7 wars raging. I use tariffs to stop wars. If you look at India and Pakistan, they were ready to go at it. 7 planes were shot down. They were ready to go at it, and they're nuclear powers. And I don't want to say exactly what I said, but what I said was very effective. They stopped. And that was based on tariffs. It was based on trade. Tariffs are very important for the United States. We are a peacekeeper because of tariffs. Not only do we make, hundreds of billions of dollars, but we're a peacekeeper because of tariffs.
Mr. President. On the shutdown, Mr. President, the shutdown that occurred during your first term lasting 35 days, how long do you expect this shutdown to go?
Well, you don't know. Look, I can say this, that it would have not happened except for the Democrats. The Democrats are very foolish. They've lost their way. And we have a new thing now. When you look at, it's called crime. It's called absolute, as Biden would say, well, I won't say what he would have said. Remember when he said, it's a 3-letter word, no. Remember that one? Everyone's saying, what was that all about? He probably meant exclamation point or something after the word. but this is a 5-letter word, crime, CRIME. And we want to put it out and are putting it out, and they don't seem to care about it, but they do care. I believe that Pritzker and this mayor of Chicago that like to say about they don't have it under control. Not only is it not under control, it's the opposite. And I believe they're afraid. They're scared for their lives. I believe that the Portland people are scared. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years. It's a burning hellhole. And then you have
Okay, so again, more politics, not too much business stuff. Basically, he's saying about the shutdown. I mean, he's not saying anything new, right? Democrats are the reason to blame. Democrats don't want to deal with crime. So still finger pointing from both sides. We're not really seeing the transition of any capitulation to get to a conclusion on when the shutdown will end. How many days? It's been 5 days? 5 days, equity markets don't care. So markets have meaningfully priced out and they said, we're done with this. And ironically, the rate cut probabilities are higher because we don't have the jobs data. There is for October, 94% chance that we're going to get another rate cut. So it looks like that could continue. Can TMQ go up 800% tomorrow? I do not know enough about their business, but this is a micro cap. What is their market cap? 344 million. I mean, it's up 150% after hours. I don't know. Could it just keep going? It's hard to buy into these ones after they make that type of a move, unless you know a little bit more about the industry. Lithium, did that crack $8? That's $8.62. I mean, it was down 4% today, but that one at $4, it was made the announcement. Then it went up to $6, then it went back down to $5, then it went to $7.40, then it went back down to $6. Now it's at $8.60. So, I mean, if you bought any time last week, even after the initial pop, you've made money. You would have to literally have bought it. $9.48 today is what, damn, it broke $9. You would have had to buy there to lose money. I don't know if TMQ is going to be the same. But when you have this type of excitement around the U.S. taking stakes in these companies, it could be. App still falling. Okay, I do have a little bit of coverage from CNBC. I have an article right here. Applovin, 552, $7 away from 545. Applovin shares plummeted after Bloomberg reported the SEC has been probing the mobile advertising company. The agency has been looking into whether the company violated agreements. An Applovin spokesperson said the company doesn't typically comment on the existence or non-existence of regulatory matters. That said, as a global public company, we regularly engage with regulators, and if we set inquiries, we address them in ordinary course. Material developments, if any, would be disclosed to the appropriate public channels. That's stupid. That sounds like they're guilty. Like, as a public company, we don't comment on the existence or non-existence of regulatory matters. Your stock's down 20%. There likely is a reason for that. So not commenting on that probably means that there's some regulatory matter that is actually affecting your company. Yeah, that's the most we have. So we got a public statement from Applovin that if there is an issue, they will disclose it eventually. Oh, this is definitely real, bro. Look, if it wasn't real, they would have just said, we unequivocally disagree and we welcome the SEC to probe our business as we have not unlawfully targeted our ads using third-party proprietary data. Like, something like that. I should be a lawyer, bro. I should be a fucking lawyer. Like that would have been an easy way to just be like, look, stock can do whatever it wants, but we are not guilty. This was a different statement. Archer, are we still moving after hours on this one? Does anyone have a headline besides the Tesla thing? Like, am I totally missing the Archer thesis today for this pump? Is there anything besides Tesla partnership tomorrow? I feel like I'm missing something. Because for these many people to bet on Archer because they showed Optimus in a video for a summit that Archer and Tesla were both participating at, which is the only logic I've seen for why Archer is going to partner with Tesla, is some super bull market momentum. I mean, then they're looking at this tweet. Elon in 2023 said, hey, I hope Archer is successful. Is this really the reason, bro? It was also beat down. Yeah, but dude, 23% in a day. That's a bit aggressive. You're underestimating retail? I guess I am. Amit, you've been watching too much Suits. I watched Suits like 10 years ago. It's a great show. It's a great, great show. FAA approval, I don't know if that would be enough, bro. Or there would be more rumors about that. All I'm seeing is Tesla. I mean, maybe it's Tesla. Maybe, bro. That 2-year-old tweet was retweeted by an Archer executive yesterday. Was it Goldstein? Was it Adam? I mean, maybe there's something to it. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. 22% on the day for Archer. All right, so we'll see. We'll see tomorrow what happens. Tess says Archer did some more demonstrations of their eVTOL. Yeah, but demonstrations and demos are not enough to dude. The stock, they've not got their eVTOL into flight for over 4 years. It has been forever since they've promised to release this thing. So demos can't pump at 20%. I feel like there's got maybe demos are the reason, but demos are not in production. Joby, on the other hand, has actually put it out into the world, which is different. Joby was up 7% today. But maybe someone thinks that the demo will become reality very soon. That could be the reason. They aren't even close to FAA certification. Pentagon deal. That's old, though. The Pentagon stuff, the Anduril stuff, the defense stuff is old. I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see what happens. But you got Archer right there getting a little bit of love. I do have a couple of headlines that I want to get to, but real quick, we did get a package today in the mail. I have not opened the package outside of taking it out of the box, so I will be opening it literally for the first time with you guys. This is the package. I have not opened it at all outside of taking it out of the box. It is a package from a company called Alphabet. All right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, wow. Neil Mohan, CEO of YouTube. There it is, folks. We got it. We got it. We got it. 100K. I thought this thing would be heavier, bro. This thing is like pretty lightweight. It's almost like a paperweight. There you go. Not too bad. We got it. We got it. 100K. It's pretty cool. That is pretty freaking cool. So we did it. We all did it. This was not me. This was all of you guys together as a community making this happen. And it is officially here. So thank you to everybody. It means the world. Did not expect this 4 years ago. Could not have imagined 100,000. I was just making videos about Palantir. That's it. Like, we'll see where it goes. And here we are. So awesome stuff. We'll put this somewhere in the background. We'll put it up there. And we'll go from there. So we can unsubscribe now. Yes, exactly. How are you celebrating? I am not celebrating. We already celebrated 100K like 2 weeks ago on stream. So no celebration, just back to work. Maybe some shots of Jaeger, maybe some. But after this weekend, I think I'm done drinking again forever. You know, I did drink in Miami, not at the meetup, but the night before the meetup in the mod dinner that I hosted. I drank a lot. Like a lot. I think I had like 15 shots. I'm not even joking. You can ask anyone who's there. I legit drank. Grab, by the way, moving a little bit after hours, 6:41. And I woke up the next morning at like 1 p.m. First thing I said to Derek was, I'm never drinking again, bro. I went, never drinking again. And I didn't for like 2 months until Saturday. No, it legit was 15 shots, bro. Like it was a lot. Or maybe if it wasn't 15 shots, it was a ton of, I was mixing a ton of drinks, just like random stuff that I was drinking. Every time they came up, I was like, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? Whatever they had. So the mods drank with me as well, though. It was fun. It was a good night. And we got some drinks. 100 shots for 100K subs. It's a good idea. I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, Tess with the champagne. I don't know how much champagne I drank that night. Did I show you guys one of the videos from that? No, I showed you guys the video. We had someone had Palantir. I don't even know what the title was on, but like, you know, when the girls bring out the board and they have the drinks and someone put Palantir for the win or something like that. Palantir up or something. I forgot what they said, but yeah, we had tons and tons of drinks that night. Okay, what else? Siege, yeah, Siege was there. Tess was off the hook. Tess drank more than me, and I don't know how her liver is a different type of liver, bro. You Brits have a different type of liver. I mean, you think the Germans can drink, the Brits. I don't know who created your liver, how your liver was constructed, but you have a different liver. And if I had 15 shots, she had 30 shots. So that was quite incredible. But I can't drink like that. Alphabet 250 after hours. Let's go to Yardeni. He continues to say this is the roaring 20s, 7,000 price target. Let's see what he has to say about this market.
500 is about 23 right now. And back during the tech bubble of the late 1990s, early 2000s, we got to 25. The Buffett ratio is at an all-time record high. So valuation is definitely high, but we've also had some really remarkably strong earnings. And I think that that's what's going to continue to drive the market and maybe keep valuations up here. I think the market's discounting a very resilient economy.
Does a possible bubble not even matter right now because earnings are good? People are just going to play the hand they're dealt for now, worry about everything else later?
I think you focus on the fundamentals of companies, and most of the fundamentals are hanging in there remarkably well. Profit margins have been remarkably high in the face of tariffs, for example.
Bro, he's 100% right about this. Profit margins have expanded. Earnings growth, we've seen what happened in Q2 was amazing. And if Q3 holds up, now if we get smacked in the face with a crappy Q3 earnings, this bull market probably takes a pretty nasty nosedive, at least in the short term. If we don't, which I don't know what anecdotal or quantitative data anyone can point to for why earnings won't be good in Q3 across the board. Maybe healthcare suffers a little bit, maybe financials, but like the bulk of earnings should be strong. Then again, it's just hard, even if you're screaming about bubble, to not buy equities when the earnings are expanding.
Corporate managements have really done an astounding job of kind of dealing with Washington. People look at the headlines and worry about how Washington is impacting the economy. I look at the other way. Look how well we're doing despite Washington.
I want you to listen to what Paul Tudor Jones said this morning on Squawk Box, trying to, assess for himself whether history is repeating itself or rhyming or whatever it's doing about 99 and the tech bubble. Listen.
Feels exactly like 1999. I don't know whether we'll actually replay it exactly, but I think all the ingredients are in place. And certainly from a trading standpoint, you have to position yourself like it's October 99. I don't see why you would do anything but that. And remember, the NASDAQ doubled between the first week of October 99 and March of 2000. So if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably not a chicken, right?
All right, that's PTJ. In other words, I mean, he's saying it explicitly.
Yeah.
You still have to position like we're going to have this massive move in the market. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I feel as though we already had sort of a look at what this could be. And that was at the beginning of the year. Remember, the stock market was back then around 22 forward PE. And then DeepSeek came out of nowhere in January. And all of the AI stocks got whacked. But then the companies reported that they were going to continue to spend money and that everything was just fine. And the market made a V-shaped recovery. So, if we have a correction, it'll be a buying opportunity just the way it was at the beginning of the year. But I mean, the amount of...
I mean, like, does anyone not agree with that? If we get a correction, it would be a buying opportunity just like it was at the beginning of the year. Dude, and we already got a correction. Did we? Like, I know we forget about April because it was 5 months ago, but we had that shit. We dealt with it. April was ugly. It was really ugly. A lot of us lost our shit, but we somehow just managed to keep buying. The big guys didn't, which is why they had to chase. If you get a Grab back at $5, an AMD back at $150, a Tesla back at $330, a Palantir back at $140, I mean, like a Robinhood back at $110, I think there will be people who buy unless there's something cataclysmic that's happening in the broader economy, some Japanese yen carry trade, something, that we didn't expect. If not, I don't know, dude. And again, it was pretty damn ugly. So we're going to need, we have not had a 2% red day on the S&P 500 since April 21st. It's been 5 months. We're going to need some real volatility caused by something, which might be earnings, might be something we don't think of. But if we don't see it, I mean, I don't think you're going to get people that are going to be that afraid to end up buying the dip. Doug says, I only saw Amit take one drink at the mod dinner. He is lying his ass off. Okay. And the reason, the way I know he's lying is because it was 12 a.m. and the bartender lady came up to me and she was like, hey, your 3-hour lot is finished, and if you want to extend for another hour, you're gonna have to pay some money. And I'm like, who cares, bro? Like, all right, let's extend for another hour. I was like, how much is it? She was like $1,000. I was like, okay, whatever. I gave her my Robinhood credit card. I was like, extend this shit. The party goes on. I woke up the next morning. I got that Robinhood credit card bill, not just for the extension for another hour, but all the drinks added up on it. Let's just say I'm happy there was 3% back. I'm happy there was 3% back, bro. That was a bit more than $1,000 for the whole night, but it was worth it. It was worth it because we all got drunk. We all had a great time. I couldn't believe that though, bro. I was too drunk though. She was like, "Oh, it'll 1,000." I'm like, 1,000? Okay, here's the card. Take it. Do what you got to do. I was like, $1,000? I guess it was a very exclusive nightclub, and like there were other reservations. And she was like, you know, if you really want to keep the spot, you got to pay up. I was like, all right, whatever. But that's how I know that I drank more, because A, I was drunk when she said that. B, I extended it so that we could all keep drinking, and I got use of that $1,000, and we kept drinking. So it was fun. It was very, very, very fun. Sounds like Hangover the movie. There's a movie called Hangover? What? No, I'm kidding. I know about Hangover. Steve was on. He would probably get mad if I said that. Let's call Steve. Let's see. He called me in the morning right before I went live about this AMD deal. And he was like, bro, this shit is crazy. This shit is crazy.
One sec, hold on.
Okay, he's there. Give him a second. Yo, are you busy? Okay, we'll give him a second.
I'm walking out of the office. I'll call you back in 5 minutes.
Okay, bet. Applovin, is that one still getting hit? We'll get Steve's thoughts on this AMD thing. Applovin, 545 was the low, 557. Very close. Very, very close. Dude, this might be a great opportunity. This might be a phenomenal opportunity. I mean, I kind of want to start my deep dive quicker now on Applovin. Not often you get a 20% drawdown in a bull market on a name that's growing 70% year over year. Now, granted, if they're growing because they violated a ton of laws and the SEC calls them out on that shit, and that means they can't grow at those levels anymore, that is the risk to buying the dip. But we're going to have to see. Surf Fishing and SoCal, I'm delayed, but I'm genuinely happy for you hitting the 100K subscriber mark and getting that plaque. Well-deserved. Surf Fishing, thank you for being here. It means the world. Matthew, thanks for the $10 super chat. Congrats, boss man. Appreciate it. Matt, thank you as well for becoming a channel member. And Clayton, thank you for becoming a channel member. Yeah, guys, I really appreciate it. I didn't know 100K would happen 4 years ago, but I think we built a really tight-knit community, and we get to navigate the markets together, which is why this is one of the most exciting things to do every day. Ethereum just below 4,700, and Bitcoin touched 126, kind of love tapped it, 126.3, now back down to 125.2. This Applovin dip reminds me of the UNH dip from there. That's a great point. Absolutely. I mean, and UNH was more intense because it's healthcare and you got people's lives, whereas Applovin is just targeted advertising. So it does feel like this is a bit more aggressive. But you got UNH that has decently recovered. So, I mean, decently from the lows. It's still down 50%. But 240, 359 is not too bad. Amit, I have covered calls 180 for October 10th. What should I do? Okay, so based on how much you paid for those, we were talking about this with someone this morning. You're actually, I mean, look, 205 is your calls are deep in the money, but it's not as bad as some people in the morning that had 160s. Obviously, you would have to roll those. So your calls today were up 4,000%. You're at 2470. If I were you and I wanted to keep AMD, I would go to March. I would go to March, depending on how much you want to pay for it. I would do 250. You would have to pay $8 a share. If you kind of think AMD settles around 220, you can get a credit and do March 220. Or you can do April 240, pay a little bit more. It's tough when you get that deep in the money. Now, if you really want to keep your shares, you would have to go out super far into January, and you can get to 290 January 2027 and get a net credit. But if you think AMD kind of chills around this area, consolidates here, you can do February, March around 220, 230, maybe pay a little bit of a debit or get a credit, which is not too horrible. But it's what happens, right? It's what happens when you sell covered calls. I would say everyone should be a bit more cautious. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago as Hood was starting to break out. Like, we're in a bull market, guys. It's here. It's bullish. And until you get a sign that it's not bullish. Now, the covered calls are a hedge against it not being bullish, right? So a lot of people that have Oscar covered calls, I mean, they're under pressure right now, right? If this continues. Now, you may say, hey, Oscar went from 12 to 20. Selling a $23 covered call shouldn't be that big of a deal because it had that big of a run. But then there's external nuances like OpenAI and AMD or Trump and ACA subsidies that can extend the run. Same thing with Hood. I don't think anyone knew S&P 500 inflows were happening last week, but it did. Prediction markets took off. So I have no covered calls on. 0 covered calls. Because A, the premium's not worth it. B, I genuinely think it hasn't really broken out yet. But for some of the names that have broken out, even then, I think you should be a little bit more conservative because we still have 3 months left of the year. And those names can do very well. Why sell covered calls on things that aren't richly valued? AMD was not frothy to begin with. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't specifically know that much about AMD's quote-unquote frothiness, but if you think AMD was not that frothy in the first place, then there's no point to selling the covered calls, unless you just want the premiums. And if you want the premiums, look, you're getting into a negotiation with a buyer. The buyer is saying it's going to go here. You're saying it's not going to go here. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It is what it is. The good thing is you miss out on opportunity cost of more money, but you don't actually lose money. I do think there's a difference between opportunity cost and actually losing premium. And if you want to save those shares, then you just have to manage it. But I do think some of these names have more momentum. S&P right there, 671.70 after hours. All right, what other headlines do we have? What other headlines? Let's actually finish up with your Denny, and we'll keep going from there.
Money that these companies are spending is so ginormous now relative to what was announced even back when you're talking about, you have conversation about so-called circular deals. I mean, I thought it was interesting. Stacy Rasgon, right? He's a star analyst, top chip name on Wall Street, said of Sam Altman, and he's looking at the deal today with AMD, says Sam Altman has the ability, I think, to either crash the global economy for a decade or take us to the promised land. We're not sure of which. What do you make of that?
Well, I think sometimes Sam Altman gets a little bit hyper about where this is all going. He's described his latest version of ChatGPT as like having a PhD professor working for you, and it's not quite that good. I mean,
Yo.
What's up?
What's up? I'm live. Goodness gracious, bro. I hate New York City, dude. I hate New York, bro. Fuck.
They follow me around. What can I say?
All right, well, we're going to end out in like 10 minutes, and I wanted to give you the last 10 minutes as you're heading out of work. Dude, AMD, what are your thoughts?
That, I'm the dumbest investor alive.
Oh, I forgot. This is a sore topic for you. Guys, Steve had God knows how many thousands of shares at $2. At $2 for AMD.
7,800 shares.
Oh, wow, you remember the exact number.
Of course I do. And I sold it at $3.67. I can tell you exactly where I sold it also.
Well, have you looked at the stock? Because it's above $3.68.
Oh, it's like, I don't know, 217 above it or something like that.
Wait, so let's do the math. Hold on. You had 7,800 or 78,000?
7,800.
7,800 times 205. Steve, you would have had $1.6 million.
Yeah, off like 20 grand. Yeah.
Yeah, you fucked up, bro.
A little bit. A little bit.
Okay, well, besides the opportunity cost of that, I mean, just general market analysis on this for AI. What are you thinking when you heard this deal?
So I did not have a lot of time during the day at all. I've been in meeting after meeting. I was actually walking out of our general counsel's office when you called me. But what I did read, and I'm going to read a lot when I go home and just do a reaction to it, but this is so bullish that the tweet I sent you from Altman, which obviously you saw without me sending it to you, Chris and I were having a conversation this morning, and I'm going to have to update what I said again because this wasn't really out. I mean, we're in a 7 to 10 year cycle at this point. Like, I'm convinced. At first, when we started talking about NVIDIA, I said 18 to 24 months, and then I updated to 3 to 5 years. I think we're 7 to 10 years at this point. I don't think anybody's slowing down at all, and I think this is a strategic move to take chips off of the market. It's incredible.
The sheer magnitude of this deal was the thing that was exciting to me. So OpenAI gets to buy 10% of AMD, and it finalizes their warrants if AMD 3x's their market cap, which means, can you speak a little bit on the incentive alignment behind AMD and OpenAI on this deal?
Before we get to the incentive alignment, think about this. None of these chips ship until second half of 2026.
That's correct.
That tells you there is so much freaking demand. NVIDIA's numbers are going to be insane for Q3 and Q4.
Yeah, and AMD, right? I mean, this is not slowing down at all.
AMD's numbers will be way different next year than they are this year, but this is more immediately bullish for NVIDIA because it truly signifies that every chip that they make is already accounted for.
Yeah, I mean, AMD might have a couple more quarters of like lackluster growth, but when this starts scaling from, I mean, this is 10 billion a gigawatt essentially, and AMD is getting 6 of those from OpenAI.
And this is going to be to augment NVIDIA's chips. They're still, Altman came out and said it today. This does not take away anything they're doing with NVIDIA.
Correct. Yeah.
This isn't replacing a single chip for NVIDIA. This is augmenting. There is not enough compute, which makes you think, what do they think the future is going to be if they need all this capacity? And that's just one company. So now what does XAI do? What does Meta do? What does Microsoft do? Because this is not Microsoft. This is OpenAI. 2 different companies.
And
what does everybody do?
Hold on. Did you hear the new updates on what Sam Altman said at their dev day? Did you see any of that?
I saw your tweet about it.
Okay, so
and all the things that were built on it.
Well, 800 million weekly actives.
Yeah.
That was 700 million last week or last month. 6 billion tokens processed a minute. That's a 3.15 quadrillion. I don't even know quadrillion was a word. Quadrillion run rate annually. Like those numbers are going to be similar or potentially slightly lower for Google, XAI, and Meta as well, along with Microsoft. So, I mean, not to mention Amazon, which is going to get a lot more AI queries. This is not stopping. It doesn't seem like this is stopping.
And I'm going to follow up with a post for all the bears tonight because I got news for all of them. They're wrong. There's nothing in the numbers that indicates the bear case is correct. This is a bubble or this is oversubscribed. You can't subscribe enough. These companies cannot buy enough.
Well, do you have any retort to the argument that so OpenAI is giving or NVIDIA is giving OpenAI 100 billion, then OpenAI is taking that money and buying an equity stake in AMD, yada yada. Like the circular nature of this money spinning, how do you kind of reconcile that?
Who cares? It's an indirect. NVIDIA just gained indirect access to AMD through their ownership in OpenAI, because OpenAI is going to be a shareholder of AMD, so it doesn't even matter. However anybody wants to spin it, it doesn't matter. It's bullish.
Yeah, I also think, look, if there's an ROI on the money, then like you can't say that it's circular.
Who cares? Who cares?
Well,
I don't care that they took the money and they did something else with it. It's their money to use.
Agreed, but ultimately, I will say there has to be an ROI. If there's no ROI, then it's just money going around in a circle. Then there's no value from the money in the first, or from the investment.
If there was no ROI on this stuff, I do not think these companies would be spending the way they're spending.
Well, and that's the punchline, right?
And that's been my thesis the whole time, that every build out, these people have been correct. Who are we to say that they're wrong? And who is somebody who doesn't work in the field that just sits there and reads numbers? Who are they to say that they're wrong? This is where the brightest minds are going. The AI is shaping technology. We see how it's shaping it. We haven't even hit velocity yet with robotics or full self-driving, which is going to need a ton of AI. So we're so early, and it seems like we're not, but we're so early.
I agree. I
This
agree.
could be a 10-year runway.
What'd you say?
Could be a 10-year runway.
It definitely feels like it's going to be at least 5. That's for sure. Right?
I mean, I thought it was 5 before. Now I think it's closer to 10. And I hate saying that, but what's going to happen next year when they decide that they need more compute?
Also, what's going to happen when these models that are pretty good right now become the worst they will ever be every time they get a new update because they only get better and better and better?
Yeah, and what happens when NVIDIA's next cycle of chips come out?
Also, what happens with, I don't know if you saw this, but Figma, Zillow, Spotify, a bunch of these, Expedia, a bunch of these companies partnered with ChatGPT today that now allow consumers to talk with their products inside of the app. I mean, what happens when, hundreds of millions of people just use the products they use on a daily basis, like Figma or Spotify, inside of a chat app? That's way more compute that's needed to supply all that demand as well.
I think that there's going to be, and look, I get it. Energy is not nearly as enticing as technology, but there's going to be real winners on the energy side. You can't have this type of build out and be talking about these types of numbers on the gigawatts that you're going to need without energy. Like at some point, energy infrastructure is going to have its day in the sun, and you're getting a big yield from those companies right now. There's just no way they don't run at this point.
I agree.
And I got to do more due diligence on Iran and these other companies because you know what? We may be early on those companies too, even though they've already ran so much.
No, I agree. Sam was talking about that on Friday. He thinks Iran, Nebius, all of them are screaming buys because he thinks this is just not slowing down. So,
I mean, Iran is what? $13-15 billion company?
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft just spent $4 billion on one data center. So maybe Sam could be right. I don't know. I need to do more due diligence, but this just feels super bullish. And my dilemma was, what do I buy? More BMNR or more NVIDIA?
I was going to
those
say,
are two things I'm buying.
Yeah. So I was going to say, let me get you on the last question. BMNR. I mean, nice 10.4% day. You still buying here?
I mean, I didn't buy today. I was going to, and I'm like, let me see tomorrow if it pulls back a little bit. But I don't have a full position on what I want. So, I mean, on either of them. So I have to buy more. It's just, am I going to try to scalp and try to save $1 or $2 a share? Or just say, screw it, I don't care because I think it's going to 150. And what does $1 or $2 matter?
Well, yeah. And if ETH, 7,000-8,000, this probably is closing in on $90 to $100. So
yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be buying more. Tomorrow I'll be looking at it and figure something out. But super bullish. I'm not shocked, but I'm kind of shocked with the announcement today. It just feeds into everything at the perfect timing because what do you think these companies are going to say on their conference calls?
Yeah.
We have earnings. Tesla's reporting in 2 weeks?
October 22nd. Yeah.
So what does Elon say on the conference call? And then we roll into the Mag 7. And at some point, Tom Lee is going to be talking. I mean, what does everybody say on the conference calls?
Well, so that's what I was saying right before he came on. Like, if the earnings are as good as Q2, I mean, it's going to be really hard for people to still be bearish going into November. Like, if we have double-digit earnings growth again, 2 quarters in a row, I don't know.
And what if these companies say they're going to spend more money?
Yeah. And look, at the same time, like they've done about $1 trillion of buybacks this year. That's already on pace for beating 2024 by end of year. If they're not stopping the buybacks, they're going to show that they're pretty confident in their stock price's ability to increase earnings. Which means if a company's buying back their own stock, you got to ask yourself as a shareholder, maybe you should feel comfortable buying Google at 250 if Google is,
Well, I want to ask you something. How do we buy land on the moon? Is that even a thing? Because think about this. Bezos saying that he wants to build data centers on the moon to take advantage of 24/7 solar. I mean,
he said that today?
No, he said that the other day.
He said he wants to build data centers on the moon?
Yeah, in 10 years from now.
Oh shit! Hold on, I got the clip. Let me play it real quick.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't hear this?
No, I didn't hear this. Let me hear this.
Oh, you need to play it, and we need to discuss before you leave. This is crazy.
One of the things that's going to happen in the next, it's hard to know exactly when, it's 10 plus years, but I bet it's not more than 20 years. We're going to start building these giant gigawatt data centers in space. So these giant training clusters, those will be better built in space because we have solar power there 24/7. And the solar power there are no clouds and no rain, no weather. So you can build, we will be able to beat the cost of terrestrial data centers in space in the next couple of decades. And so space will end up being one of the places that keeps making Earth better. It already has happened with weather satellites. It's already happened with communication satellites. The next step is going to be data centers and then other kinds of manufacturing.
Okay, so we buy more Amazon.
So what are your thoughts when you hear that?
I mean, look, if the demand for compute is greater than what we can all imagine, I don't think it's crazy to say, hey, there needs to be another place where we can generate the ability to build out data centers if there's just not enough, not only land on the United States, but like, look, the biggest elephant in the room is that if you build it on Earth, electricity prices go up. If we don't navigate that, consumers are not going to put up with AI data center products if they can't pay their electricity bills. So there is a logical point for why you would want to do it, not only on planet Earth, but there's been a logical argument for offshoring a lot of stuff off planet Earth, right? I mean, we've heard this argument with a bunch of different industries. Now, I don't know how feasible it is to do that, but...
No, but forget feasible, right? The fact that he is saying that he believes that we're going to start building it, with it, whether it's 10 or 20 years in space, I automatically think on the moon because it's solid ground. I mean, I don't know how you have a floating space data center. I have no idea. But it just means that the demand for compute is going to continue to excel year over year, decade over decade.
Maybe he's talking about Mars, bro.
No,
dude, maybe that takes SpaceX to 100 quadrillion.
He specifically said space because he doesn't want any barriers to the sun for 24/7 solar.
I mean, I don't know how it would play out. He said in orbit, but like it goes to your point that demand is not slowing down.
Demand is not slowing down. And think about this. If Bezos is saying that, Bezos is still on the board of Amazon. You don't think Jassy's coming over the top with something on the earnings call? He doesn't have a choice.
Well, I don't know what the hell Jassy's going to say. He's got to say something to get the street excited. But I agree. They're going to be spending more money and likely talking about the way they plan to get an ROI from all this money. And it's got to be through AWS, at least for now. Maybe it's through advertising. Maybe it's something else. But
well, Chris is right. SMCI is probably a play, and I need to look at it again. We can't have this much freaking build out without racks and cooling. We just can't.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I know their margins suck, but I agree.
They may get better. Who knows?
Dell as well. I mean, Dell has shitty margins too, but like these companies, Micron's going to matter. I mean, like a lot of these names, as if I feel if anyone doesn't want to pick stocks, then SMH, right? I know that ETF has done well this year, but
yeah, I mean, SMH should continue to do well, or even XLK. Just buy the whole basket of every segment of technology.
VRT, VST, all those names. You know. So okay, so last question for you. The biggest bear case I heard today outside of the whole circular stuff was just like, none of this is real. And like, this is a Ponzi to get people to just be excited to pump more money into the markets, AKA 1999. How would you navigate that argument?
So I would say whoever thinks it's not real, I'll take some vacation days. Let's go to a data center and tell me if you can touch the wall of the data center. And then let's go inside and tell me if you can touch a server. And then tell me if you can read a balance sheet and a cash flow statement. And if the cash from operations that's being generated from Microsoft, is it real or fake? And then if it's real, is the CapEx that they're spending real? And then let's go to a site that's being developed and then tell me if there's Caterpillar machinery there and if they're digging holes and building, is that real? You can't say it's not real.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, what, Sundar, these guys are multi-billionaires, multi-hundred billionaires. You think they're just trying to pump something so the stock goes up? Like, no, they understand their companies are irrelevant if they miss this revolution. Much more than Sundar wants to sell some more shares to get a little bit more money, you know?
I have a problem with people saying it's not real because obviously it's real. The real thing is it relevant? That should be the catchphrase.
Yeah.
Is it relevant? Not is it real? Because yes, it's real. Now, if it's relevant, that's something you can debate. You can't debate if it's real or not. I mean, you know it better than anybody. I mean, you commentate at the Palantir Summits. Is AI real from what your eyes have seen at Beacon?
It is the implementation of AI in the enterprise, at least from Palantir's case studies, is more than real.
Okay, so that's more than real. We know that data centers are real. So I don't know how anybody can say this is not real. I have a very big problem with that.
Agreed.
And you know what else I have a problem with?
What?
Costco getting a bigger valuation than NVIDIA, especially after this news.
Dude, maybe when NVIDIA overtakes Costco, that's how we know we're at the top. Maybe that's the signal that we're all looking for.
Maybe that's the signal. But right now, the fact that NVIDIA is still trading at a lower multiple than freaking Costco is disgusting.
I agree. All right, Steve, thank you. I'm linking Steve's YouTube right here. He is now an official YouTuber.
I'm going to come out with a reaction video to this when I get home.
You should. Now people are going to want your take on these topics. So
I'm going to.
There you go.
Craziness.
Yeah, there's Steve Chan. I think he'll be interviewing Tanner this week. He has a couple different interviews planned, so you guys can subscribe and check him out this week later.
Yeah, I got some stuff that we're going to be doing. We'll go from there. The real question is, what should I buy, DMNR and NVIDIA? What am I buying tomorrow?
Well, I told you today, I think given your conviction is heavy on both, you buy whichever one dips, and so far it's NVIDIA. So if DMNR dips, then, you know.
I'll just buy both. Screw it.
Or just buy both. There you go.
Or just buy both.
All right, Steve. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later this week.
All right. Talk to you later.
Later. All right, guys. Last thing, shout out to Ash. He just sent me a DM on Twitter with a link to someone on a podcast talking about Applovin. Applovin's still down 20% after hours. Let's play a little bit of this. I think I watched this a long time ago. I don't remember it, but I mean, maybe there's something here about Applovin. This is from 4 months ago.
Those critics go completely silent. Occasionally one or two will,
hold on. Let me reshare this. Okay.
DM or tweet like, oh, wow, I guess I really had this one wrong.
I mean, the stock went from 220 to 50.
Yeah.
Are you still short?
No, we're no longer short. So
you are. So you were saying
the
second type.
The second one is when they're just like, we already bought this boat, and man, we're going to defend this. And so that would be like Applovin. So we reported on them a couple months ago, and basically the numbers are real. We're not accusing them of fake numbers.
That was you. You're the primary on Applovin.
There were a bunch who came out at the same time.
Okay.
So, I mean, the funny thing is we all get to the same conclusion, but through different methodologies. So our methodology was the most technical in actually looking at the code and how Applovin has created these, in violation of all the platform's terms of services, these persistent identifier graphs that track users from site to site and then hit you with retargeting ads. And that's prohibited by Google, by Facebook.
They found a way. So it's like you download a solitaire game because you're on the airplane, and before you know it, like 6 months later, they keep hitting you with more and more ads. Because they have you.
Right. But unless you opt in, they're not allowed to do that. And there are also laws that prohibit that now, as well as the platform's TOS. So they say, oh, we created this great AI that, delivers results that almost as good as those of the companies that actually are the platforms and that can track you because people opt in. And no, they're just violating the TOS. And so we published that. The CEO and CTO put out a response, denied it. But the thing is, they didn't stop the behavior, right? So when we still look at these sites and, we see that they still they're still using these persistent identity graphs, and they're just denying. So that's that's the other response. It becomes binary. It's
That's
either
a current position for you. You're,
yes,
you're short
that's-
Applovin
yes,
right now.
we are. So we're
Okay.
taking on the chin a little bit today.
Up 12% today. They
Yeah.
just reported.
They had an earnings
They
report.
so we put out an update yesterday. It was a video that showed, hey, they're still doing this, and the CEO and CTO lied. Those were our actual words. So we're saying that they lied in their response when they denied that Applovin uses these persistent identity graphs. But the numbers were great, because going back to the point about Herbalife, it turns out that when you have a business that's doing things it shouldn't be doing, it can be a pretty good business.
Shouldn't be doing morally.
Well, shouldn't be doing morally and legally.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with that one, and not to delve too deeply into Applovin, but the platforms could shut them down. Okay, that's one risk. But if the platforms don't shut them down, this doesn't take a genius to do what they're doing. So you're going to have all of these other like tiny little ad tech companies say, oh, wow, we can play this game too because this is tolerated. And so basically their margins are going to be, cut to, razor thin if the platforms don't do anything
so your
about
thesis is like, even if they keep getting away with doing this thing that you are asserting they're not supposed to be able to do on the platform, that actually might not even work out well for them, because then everyone else will do
Wait,
it too.
it's $115 billion market cap?
Yeah,
Holy shit.
No, I mean, in 24, last year they ramped
that's
this thing. It was irrelevant to like.
That's what I wanted to ask you. I think it was
insane.
I forget what period of time it was the
After the drop, now it's 198 billion market cap.
best performing stock. Yeah. I don't want to say it was in the S&P. Maybe it is now, but it was in like the Russell 3000. But I remember watching this thing. I had no idea what the company did. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of short sellers are publishing on it. So you mentioned that we all arrive at it from a different perspective. But the number one performing stock, and no one's ever heard of the company,
right,
has to get a lot of attention.
Well, so yeah, to your question earlier, right, about how do we develop ideas? So when you see something like that, everybody in my business started looking at that because it just climbed the wall. Like the stock price went vertical.
Everyone's trading it.
Right,
Everyone's talking about it.
Exactly. They start using AI. And look, as soon as Chat GPT happened, okay, all of us in our office.
I don't know. We're going to see. We had someone here that said, I've spent years in ad tech and Meta doesn't do it this way, which means he has a point that Applovin is doing it in an illegal way. I do not know enough about ad tech to make a definitive statement on that. Applovin 553. Granted, this guy is a prolific short seller. Okay, so he's going to be bearish on the names that they're short. I don't know if Muddy Waters is still short Applovin. But the way he framed his argument didn't sound crazy to me. Basically, he's saying Applovin is framing the violations of advertising laws and masking it by saying their AI is just that good. And I mean, their press release to CNBC after hours saying we don't comment on regulatory matters is absolute BS. Like that tells me, hey, there's something that the SEC is finding out that might be very real here. I don't know if that's the short thesis to keep this one going down, but that definitely is not the best for Applovin. Tanner has this in his portfolio, so now he's got to deal with two companies in ad tech that might end up hurting him. Applovin, he's still up 58% on it, even at 587. But Trade Desk and Applovin are the two that are there. If I had to pick one between Trade Desk and Applovin, even with this new news after hours, it'd be Applovin in a heartbeat. I mean, this is a company that grows very quick. But if they're growing quick because of some violations, then that might be the risk. Archer's moving down. Archer 1470 to 1340. Okay, it's down $1. It's still up $2 on the day. Yeah, but you see that red candle right there. I don't see any news on Archer. Now, granted, I didn't see any news on Archer when it was up either. So, dude, imagine BM&R existed in the stock draft. All 5 of us would have tried to get that shit as soon as possible. I wonder if Tanner would have picked it before NVIDIA. No, there's no way. He would have picked NVIDIA. Who had the second pick? I think Matt would have got BM&R. Matt would have blown us away because he had the second pick. He probably would have picked BM&R. And by then it would have been like $40. But it didn't exist during that time. I don't see any Archer news. I don't see anything. I mean, maybe it's just people taking some profits after hours because it was up so much. So there you go. Yeah, Steve took strategy. Steve took the worst crypto derivative you could take. Like Tanner got Coinbase, which was great. I took Hood, which at 70 at the time felt aggressive, but I'm ride or die with Hood. And that one's done well. And then I don't think Chris has a crypto play, but Steve picked his crypto play. Matt doesn't have a crypto. I mean, SoFi's not a crypto play, but they're getting into a little bit of crypto. So Matt got SoFi. And Steve picked MSTR, which was just like not the best. It's down 6% for him. Yeah, Chris doesn't have any crypto plays. All right, Applovin, we're going to see what happens. Oh, LeBron's making an announcement yesterday, the decision part 2, for those that remember in 2010 when he took his talents to South Beach, he made a decision. I mean, look, I'm not as big into basketball as I was when I was younger, but LeBron's a cultural icon. I kind of think it's the announcement of the last season. I don't know if this is officially the last season, but it's probably his retirement. Like, what else could he's not leaving the Lakers. So I think he has 2 more seasons left. I think that's what it would be. So I don't think this is the retirement season, but we'll probably get 2 more. Prime Day announcement. Imagine it's a partnership with Amazon. That would be crazy, bro. That would be crazy. Yeah, Steve will be laughing first week of November. Bitcoin, I mean, MSTR probably will benefit the most if Bitcoin really makes a run for it. And, you got prediction markets thinking 145, 150. So it's you guys are really convinced it's Amazon Prime. Really? Bro, if he clickbaits with a Prime promo for the Decision 2.0, I just think that would be the wrong PR move, dude. Tesla news. Are we down? Tesla. Dude, okay. We were down $2, $4.54 to $4.52. However, is there actually some real news? That's not really a dump. No, I don't see anything. Oh, no, I do. Tesla plans to unveil cheaper Model Y on Tuesday, sources say. Okay, so this is from Bloomberg. Tesla plans to unveil cheaper Model Y on Tuesday, sources say. That is not confirmed by Tesla. That is the Bloomberg headline. Oh, maybe that's why Archer was getting a little dump. Archer now continuing to dump. Oh, what do you know? Tesla's not partnering with Archer. Huh. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Still up 15%, though. You can't be too upset. But, okay, that's a Bloomberg headline. That's not official. Maybe Tesla comes out tomorrow and says, we are partnering with Archer, or we're putting out the Roadster or whatever. But Bloomberg is saying cheaper Model Y. That's what I thought this morning. I think that's what a lot of you guys thought. So if we see that, then that would be bullish. Yeah, you guys, I was seeing Tesla down. I was like, what? And it's down $2. I got scared. I thought it was like 440s or something. But 452 right here on Tesla. Bloomberg ruined the surprise. It's kind of obvious though, right? It was going to be a car. I mean, the last video they posted kind of made it obvious. We'll see, but I don't know what time tomorrow it's going to be. I'll stream whenever it's live, but we're going to have to see. Jerome, thanks for the super chat. Lone Star Data put a data center on their moon in February 2025 with SpaceX rocket private company. We're so early. Yeah, I mean, Rocket Lab could be a big winner as well if we're getting data centers into orbit, because Rocket Lab takes things into orbit. Maybe that's a benefit for Rocket Lab. Vincent, thanks for the $10 super chat. Congrats, and thanks for the videos and expos. Vincent, thank you for being here. And then Siege, thank you again, brother. Congrats on the plaque. It's very exciting to watch the making of a modern version of Warren Buffett. You said that last time, and I have to publicly say, this is not the modern version of Warren Buffett. We are nowhere near, not even a millimeter of a millimeter near that type of trajectory. But I'm just happy that I'm getting to learn about the markets every single day with everybody else. And, hopefully we get to do this for a lifetime. But it has been pretty cool over the past couple of years to be doing this with everybody every single day. Grab making a little move after hours. I think she wants $7. I think it's time to play with 7 again. Let's see if we get there. But 643 after hours. Hoodie still down 2%. Palantir 179, and then the S&P up 0.38% on the day. All right, I think we're done. We're done for the day. Thank you all for being here. thank you all again for the 100K. Congratulations. Super, super cool. We'll put this up. I'll send this to my mom so she can see it. But thank you, everybody, for the support. It has been a incredible journey. And congrats to everyone for AMD. Congrats, congrats, congrats. We got that in the ETF. Big day, 30%. I think that one, even if it sells off, we'll find the buyers. Openai deal, very bullish for the broader scope of this bull market and for what's happening with AI. And it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So there you go. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Means a ton. I'll be back today, 9:30 with Tanner and Roy. 9:30 with Tanner and Roy. We will get into definitely the OpenAI AMD deal. We'll talk about NVIDIA. We'll talk about Hood as well, and whatever tech topics that we have for the week. And so we'll be back at 9:30. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later tonight. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.